First and foremost, I want to apologize for how long this video has taken. There is no excuse, reason, or thing I could say to make that okay, and I want to take full accountability for that. However, I understand that my actions, even over the past few weeks, have not been hand in hand with accountability, and that's a journey that I am beginning with this video. I also understand with the white privilege that I possess, I have no right to ask or expect forgiveness from anyone that I have hurt with my actions. Over the past few months, I have seen the explosive effects of what running from your problems can do and how many people you can hurt by doing that. But I'm aware that making this video about my emotions would do nothing but be another selfish and careless action and further the problem. I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart for being such a big part of canceled culture for the entirety of my career. I don't deserve a platform if I continue to act in such a gaslighting and irresponsible manner, and I'm so sorry for how long I've done that. I could sit here and blame it on the people I watched or the people that raised me or the advice that I chose to take, but at the end of the day, I chose to take those paths. I chose to only listen to yes people. I chose to idolize people that taught me the complete wrong way to handle the responsibility of this platform, and it breaks my heart that it took me getting to 22 years old to realize that. With that being said, I want to express my utter disgust with every single apology video I've ever made. I'm sorry for uploading them, I'm sorry for defending them, and I'm sorry for putting them out to such a huge audience. I did nothing but look at apology videos as people digging up my past again. If I'd spent the time I spent pandering, deflecting, making excuses, and spewing ignorance to millions of people becoming a better person, I would be in a far better place right now, and for that I can only hold myself accountable. It is far past the time I needed to own up to my behavior and take 100% accountability for my actions. And if I had wanted people to see that I'd truly grown, you'd think that my actions would have been in unison with that thought before this moment. I want you to know I'm aware of that, and I am so sorry for how much of a coward I have acted like. It's inexcusable. It's completely inexcusable. One thing I've learned over this time is the undeniable responsibility that goes hand in hand with a platform of this size. I am so sorry for ever thinking I could possess all that I have without acknowledging the extreme responsibility that comes with it. I had every single resource to change, and I am so sorry for choosing the wrong route every single time. I have so much work to do on myself to become a better person, and I intend on showing you that with action, education, and time. I don't want to come back to this platform until I am someone that can shape the youth in far better ways than the things I watched growing up shaped me. I don't want to be the reason that a young girl grows up the way I did. What would have been vital at that time was to look inside, to ask myself why people were angry at me, go to the root of the problem and find out why I was acting like that, and then educate myself. That's what someone deserving of a platform of my size would have done. The only goal I was taught that I actually internalized was that when I was in the wrong, I needed to make people like me again versus what I could do to become a person that people actually like. I see so clearly now the microaggressions and terrible values that I was enveloped in for 15 years of my life. I see so clearly now the problem with the things I grew up thinking were funny and the sense of humor I developed. I now realize that the content I put out into the world and who I am has the ability to aid in either positively or negatively shaping this generation. But with all of that being said, there is no excuse for the amount of time it took me when I had every single resource in the world to become a better person in the last 3 years. I had people like Colin specifically call me out and try to open my eyes and make me better. But I was so stuck in my narcissistic, egotistical ways that I was convinced I was a good person and had nothing to learn. And to anyone who tried to help me during that time and I chose to look the other way, I'm sorry. Especially Colin Berry, I am so sorry. You truthfully tried, and you would have saved me a whole lot of hell had I listened to you, and I want you to know that I know that and I live with that. I have a lot more to say about the Colin Berry situation. I just wanted to say that right then and there because I felt that that needed to be said. Next, I want to apologize for every single one of my past tweets. They were incredibly prejudiced, racist, homophobic, and unfunny. It shows how much hate was so clearly inside of me that I thought it was okay, even at that time, to write that out and put that out into the world. And then every time I spoke about my past, I pandered, I deflected, I made excuses, and I was so much more of a piece of shit. And it's crazy that I was trying to convince people I had grown. And that is exactly how I should have apologized anytime anyone ever questioned my past. As I would grow in my career, I would claim to say that I understood the pain behind these words. I would claim to say that I knew how wrong it was to have said that at that time. But then every time I would apologize, it would be in a way that was so pandering and deflecting, it would discredit everything I had to say. And it's so sad that I was so stupid and couldn't realize that. And then I would proceed to spend the next 3 years in such an unproductive cycle, wondering why these things kept getting brought up. But how could I expect anyone to forgive me in general if my apology wasn't even a sufficient apology? I selfishly decided time and time again I do not need education, and for that I am so sorry. Clearly, even based on my actions over the past few months, I have so much more growing to do, and I understand anyone who is fed up and tired, sick of it, and doesn't want to be around for that. Had a person of color done 1/10 of the antics I had done in my career, they would not have gotten to act with such privilege in the ways that I did. And to every single person who has called me out on my performative activism, you are 100% right. It is so sad that it took me years to realize that by not apologizing and not taking accountability for my past, but then sprinkling in random acts of justice, that is performative activism completely. You cannot cover up years of damage and being a hurtful person with a cardboard sign and a Twitter name. And again, the fact that it took me this moment in time to realize that is so sad. To take this long to make so many people feel heard while thinking I was doing my justice by posting about Black Lives Matter or Breonna Taylor was performative activism completely, and for that I am so sorry. I know where my morals lie, but I know that my actions have not coincided with them. I want to be the best ally, activist, and friend I can possibly be and role model, but acting like this has been the exact opposite of that. I can never even fully resonate with the pain and anger people must have felt seeing that. I have always only judged people based on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. But for so long, I thought that was enough, and I realize now that that is not enough in any way. But if a person of color feels that your actions were racist or you said something that was racist, it is about holding yourself accountable and expressing to people that you are wrong and you are sorry, and that is not who you are. Like, how did I ever expect people to think that that wasn't who I was if I could never be fully accountable until this moment? Next, I want to address the Colin and Simply Nessa situation. Once again, the amount of time this has taken is completely inexcusable, and I take full accountability for that. I let my anger, ego, and pride stop me from doing what was right, and in turn, I hurt and let down and made so many people feel unheard, including Colin, Nessa, and all of their fans. And for that, I am so sorry. I didn't know what microaggression was and never bothered to educate myself or see any of the validity in the things that were being brought to light before my eyes, because I was so convinced that I simply wasn't a racist person and had nothing to learn. When I first started reading about microaggression, I came across an analogy, and the analogy was that there was an empty plane and two African Americans got on the plane and they sat in the fourth row. Two Caucasian men enter and they sit in the first row of the plane. The plane fills up entirely except for some seats in the back. Before the plane is about to take off, the stewardess realizes that the weight is distributed unevenly and asks the African American men that sat down first to move to the back of the plane. Seeing as they sat down first, it is entirely microaggressive to choose them to have their seats demoted. Even when I was reading analogies like that, I was thinking to myself, I'm not microaggressively racist. I don't know what Colin and Nessa are talking about. I would never do something like that. But then I think back to all of the times that Colin specifically tried to make me a better person, tried to help me understand why I was going through these scandals over and over again, tried to intensively educate me on the pain behind the words that I'd said. And I chose every single time to look the other way, not listen, and write him off as someone who was just in my ear and wanted to call me out. I can't even imagine how angry and in awe he must have felt working with me and seeing me think this way. I chose every single time to take the narcissistic route, to denote that I was a good person and I simply wasn't racist, and that's just how things were. And looking back, that is so incredibly microaggressive. The way that I must have hurt him with my actions time and time again is so incredibly microaggressive, and that is not a person that I ever want to be. Even looking back and accepting that truth, that this person perceived my actions as microaggressively racist, makes me sick, because that is someone I never want to be. But in order to say that and have anyone ever believe me, or to even simply just grow, it is about holding myself accountable. As a white person, if a person of color ever accuses you of microaggression, the right thing to do is apologize, because who am I to decide if I made that person feel that way? The fact that I ever thought I could decide that is. And who was I at that time to be writing off anyone as annoying or not a good person? I was so uneducated and had no right to be shaping or in charge of anyone else. And for that, I take full accountability. And I'm still sorry. I've apologized for that. I obviously realized that very soon into the trash channel and followed all of my network's protocols to end it properly. There's a lot of hearsay as to how that ended. If at any point people want to discuss it further or want questions answered, I will answer that with receipts and full accountability. I just feel that this video should not be related to anything other than my racist racist actions and past. It's so sad that I could never say that. I was so unafraid to use racial terminology, but I was so afraid of people calling me a racist. I had so many chances to say all of this before right now. When it comes to the Nessa situation, I feel that it is more complicated, and that is definitely one of the reasons that it has taken me so long to address this, because I haven't really known what to say. However, that is not an excuse, and this situation has gotten completely out of hand, and it is entirely my fault. I could have addressed this like an adult and someone who deserves this platform months ago. I truly feel that Nessa and I had a lot of personal conflict that we were fighting just as catty teenagers who are 16 and in high school would. At that time, the average 16-year-old girl is going in and out of friendships, is meeting people she doesn't like, is not getting along with people, and that is truly, even to this day, when I look back at the Nessa situation, how I see it. Regardless, I need to be a good example to my followers, and if this person is accusing me of microaggression, I need to hold myself fully accountable and apologize for ever making her feel that way, and let you know that I'm not going to act in that manner in any way for the entirety of my life. But at the same time, if for some reason something like this is ever brought up, it is about holding myself accountable immediately and apologizing. I still want to apologize for making you in any way feel that I was acting microaggressive. Who was I at that time to write off if someone was a good or bad person? Who was I at that time to be to someone else, to be a bad friend, to handle the situation immaturely? There's never a point that I feel I was ever treating you in any way based on the color of your skin. However, if you feel that that is why I treated you that way, again, I want to say I'm sorry and take accountability for the action, because that is the right thing to do. I also completely validate your frustrations, Nessa, seeing me get so many things so easily that were probably so much more difficult or impossible for you. I should have spent the entirety of my career acknowledging the immense white privilege I have had, educating myself on that when people wanted to talk to me about it. I will use this information to fuel a fire under me, to assure that I am a part of the change and not the problem in this industry. When it comes to the anecdotal drama of both of those situations, I will answer any further questions with full accountability and receipts in any upcoming ways that you would like me to. Lastly, I want to apologize to each and every one of my fans for letting you down. People have really been referencing this time as the time they chose to unstan, or the time I was canceled for good. But I look back at my values across so many of the things I was doing for the entirety of my YouTube career, and this time has made me realize how skewed they have been all along. Once again, I don't want to make this video about me or my emotions or my family or the way I was raised, or that I'm in a dark place right now, because like I've said, I've had the resources to fix all of that for so long and have chosen not to. So it's no longer a feel sorry for me, I was raised in this way, I was this person. It's you should have used all the you have to become a better person. And so I know now that when I say things related to my upbringing, I'm not saying them in any type of victimizing way or pity party way, because you should not feel sorry for a 22-year-old who has chosen to not help themselves for so long, you know? But when I look back at the values that I was instilled with, and the way that I was brought up, and the way that I then went to project that onto the world, it makes me so sick. When I think about a single one of my young fans growing up or acting in the ways that I did, it makes me sick. I am so sorry for thinking for so long that I never had to be a role model. I promise you, for the entirety of my career, I will take that into account with every single piece of content I choose to further make. I want to make a difference in a way that is positive and impactful, not performative and disruptive. At the same time, I fully understand the people that have stopped their journey with me or are stopping here. But for me, this is just a new chapter of my journey with myself and becoming a better person. I still have to look in the mirror, and I want to see someone I'm proud of looking back at me. This is my last apology video ever, and I am so sorry for the hell I've put you through with these over the past few years. If I'm called out for something, I will be unashamed of my mistake and hold myself accountable right then and there. I will strip my ego and I will apologize. I will actually mend the problem versus continuing to shove it down further. I don't care if I'm starting every vlog with what I did wrong in the last one and how I'm going to be better in the future ones, and what I'm going to do right now with my platform to try to make up for my mistake. I refuse to run from who I am any longer, because I see what that can do. If someone is hurt with my actions, I realize it is imperative to make them feel heard immediately. I will make sure to be aware of the privilege I have as a white creator and do everything I can to be a non-performative ally from this point further. I need to continue to focus my energy not on fighting the old, but building the new. While I've worked on ridding so much hatred inside myself, and I know I'm not 2013 Tana, it is so apparent to not only me but all of you that I have a lot more deep-rooted growing to do as a person. What I can assure you is that every single day I'm taking active measures such as therapy, education, and assessing the character of not only myself, but everyone I am surrounding myself with in order to grow and become a better person. I am so sorry to my fans that I never gave a proper apology to, that I gaslit, and that I chose to not educate. I used such a great platform so irresponsibly in so many ways. I refuse to come back to this channel unless I am changing into a person down to the core that is deserving of this responsibility. The things that go wrong with us in our lives have the biggest potential to become a part of our gift to the world. However, at any given moment, we all have the power to decide that this is not how our story is going to end. I'm starting this chapter by donating to the charities that are listed on the screen and linked below, going out and registering to vote, and voting for Joe Biden. Biden, and encouraging each and every one of you, if you are able, to be a part of the change that is so desperately needed in America right now. Everything that every single one of us young people do is incredibly critical to our future. Even taking the spotlight off of everything that is going on and talking about myself and what's going on in my life for the past 25 minutes is still not okay. From this point on, I will be using my voice to urge each and every one of you watching and following me to join me in voting to get Trump out of office. The things that he is doing every single day are so incredibly inhumane, and I want to use my voice and platform to let every single one of you know that if you are watching this, that you have a choice to help our future be better, and I want to start by doing that. Thank you for watching.